Happy Tuesday, everybody. Dr. Steven Zahm here with another episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday, picking up where we left off last week on the subject of wisdom teeth. Today, specifically talking about why we should have our wisdom teeth removed. I showed last week some images of some wisdom teeth that hadn't been removed and created some issues, and so we'll talk more about those today. But what it mainly breaks down to is, and this is kind of how I explain it to my patients, is I like to think of your wisdom teeth kind of as the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. Those wisdom teeth tend to just ram into the teeth in front of them and bring the ship down with them. And so what I mean by that is most of us don't have room for our wisdom teeth to come through, and so they become impacted. And impacted just basically means they're trapped and are either, stuck in bone or stuck under or against another tooth, looking something about like this. And when teeth are impacted, and completely different subject, but wisdom teeth aren't the only teeth that can become impacted, but they certainly are the most common ones to be impacted. And when they're impacted, sometimes you can go your whole life without them creating any issues, but more often than not, it's kind of a ticking time bomb before one of several things happens. The probably most common thing with an impacted wisdom tooth that we see is that they start to, again, kind of bring down the tooth in front of them, causing resorption and eating away at the tooth in front of them. That's going to look something like this. And the bad thing about that is it's kind of a 2-for-1. At that point, if it's damaged the tooth in front of it, a lot of times those are difficult areas to repair. And so a lot of times you end up losing not only the wisdom tooth, but the molar in front of it as well. So that's, in my mind, the biggest reason to get a wisdom tooth out. Another thing that can happen if a wisdom tooth or any other tooth is impacted is that it'll just kind of sit there and fester and create some kind of cyst. And cysts can be benign or they can develop into some form of cancer. Again, that's not trying to scare anybody, but to show you an example of what that looks like, a wisdom tooth that develops a cyst is going to look about like this. And so again, that's doing a whole lot of damage that isn't necessary when we can easily get those wisdom teeth out. And other thing that comes to mind when I think of impacted wisdom teeth is that they almost have a domino effect in the sense that they start pushing on the teeth in front of them and things start to tip and shift and create crowding and crookedness with the teeth, which is especially problematic if you've gone to the trouble of going through orthodontics. You paid to have all that work done, and now it's being undone by your wisdom teeth. So it can happen to anybody, but it's especially disappointing if you've already gone through ortho. So those are the main reasons to get wisdom teeth out, is to prevent them from causing issues elsewhere. Now, for those lucky few who have the jaw space for their wisdom teeth to come through, that doesn't mean you're off the hook either. We don't inherently take out wisdom teeth if they have room to erupt, but a lot of times, sooner or later, it will be necessary, for the simple reason being that even if you have room for your wisdom teeth to come through, they're so far back in your mouth that even the most diligent brusher and flosser is going to have trouble keeping those wisdom teeth clean. And So with time, a lot of times the wisdom teeth will develop either cavities or periodontal disease, where you're losing bone support around those wisdom teeth and the tooth in front of them. And, those obviously can be treated with fillings or with cleanings, but they're wisdom teeth. They're kind of just extra. They're superfluous. They don't add a whole lot to your life. So, again, plenty of times that I've done fillings on wisdom teeth, but that also is hard for us as your dentist to do those fillings that far back to keep everything dry as is necessary to properly fill them. So really, even if you've got room for your wisdom teeth, if they start developing any kind of problems, just best to get them out of there. So I hope this answers some questions as to why we want to get the wisdom teeth out. It's so often I'm asked, why do I need to get my wisdom teeth out? I'm not having any problems. They don't hurt. And these are the reasons why. Everything we've discussed doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's a slow process, and a lot of times it doesn't hurt right away. It doesn't start hurting until the problem is major and perhaps too far beyond the point of being able to fix. So it's kind of more of a preventive thing, getting wisdom teeth out, preventing bigger issues from developing. So again, I hope this was informative and helpful in understanding the reasoning behind getting wisdom teeth out, regardless of symptoms. And we'll discuss this a little bit further. A related subject to wisdom teeth, which is dry sockets, and that'll be on next week's episode of Tooth Teacher Tuesday. Until then, enjoy the sunshine, and I hope you have a great week.